Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I did spend quite a bit of time debating this bill yesterday and getting into some of my concerns around the cervid harvest preserve, so I won't spend too much time on that part of the bill tonight, but I will just point out that, after question period today, I did go for coffee with my guests from the Edson Fish and Game Association, and they just kind of reminded me, one of them was dramatically impacted by the BSC, the mad cow disease epidemic that really impacted livestock exports several years ago, and his whole business model had to change because of BSC. BSC is also a prion disease, just like chronic wasting disease, and so this decision around cervid harvest preserves does run the risk of creating exactly the humongous challenge that we had with BSC a few years ago. And, it's disturbing to me that we're even debating it, because chronic wasting disease isn't funny. It's not something to be taken lightly. It's a deadly, uncurable, super contagious disease that will affect wild elk and deer. Spending time with the folks from Edson Fish and Game made me reflect again on the consequences of this decision, but also how it's not wholly supported by the community that it impacts. And so we're now in Committee of the Whole for Bill 10. The minister has an opportunity, this is his one last chance, to remove this part from the bill and engage in meaningful consultation with all stakeholders who are affected by cervid harvest preserves. When I met with the hunting community in West Central Alberta, I see so much disappointment in their eyes, disappointment that they weren't consulted, disappointment this decision's done without transparency, disappointment that their MLAs were untruthful and not transparent with them when they asked about cervid harvest reserves, and truly disappointment that this government is not who they thought they were. And that the MLAs that they voted for are not adequately representing them in the House. And I'm just here to say, Mr. Chair, that that's okay with me. I'm happy to represent them. I can't support a bill that allows unethical hunting and threatens our public wildlife with an incurable, super contagious disease. But I also can't support a bill that violates people's privacy and identity with citizenship markers and Alberta healthcare numbers on driver's licenses. The Information and Privacy Commissioner has said that adding Alberta health numbers to IDs increases the risk of fraud. The Canadian public health system is highly sought after, Mr. Chair, because it's so great in its public nature, or at least it is right now until we end up debating Bill 11. That's a whole other thing. But basically, the Canada public health system is so sought after that people want to do bad things with Alberta health numbers. And if they're on license plates, basically your Alberta health number becomes accessible to people who don't need it and who might use it for nefarious reasons. And so that was why the Information and Privacy Commissioner raised concerns about adding the health number to driver's licenses. And I really encourage the Minister of Health to consider what the implications are of adding the Alberta health number to driver's licenses. Last night, I spoke a little bit to how citizenship is nobody's business, really, except for maybe the airport security and Revenue Canada. But other than that, I really feel like we need to be very careful with these numbers and what they mean and what they tell other people about us as individuals, and how some of that is private information. In the spring of 2024, the NDP introduced a motion to remove Canadian work experience requirements. And of course, this government never met an NDP idea they liked, so they had to amend it to be like, well, we don't want to introduce a bill around this. What if we just replace it with continue to proactively take steps to? And now here we are debating a bill that removes Canadian work experience requirements. So I guess, So I guess the NDP do have some good ideas, Mr. Chair. It just takes the government about a year and a half to catch up. But that's okay. We're here for 4 years, maybe a little bit less. So we can wait. We can wait for you all to catch up to our good ideas. I'm very curious to see what we'll be debating in the spring. what new and exciting pieces of referendums and legislations and amendments we'll see to bills we've already debated, just to make sure that we can incorporate NDP ideas not really as NDP ideas. It's totally fine. It's not about credit. It's just about serving the people of Alberta, but you're welcome. It's just kind of funny to me, that's all. It is still a really good idea to remove Canadian work experience requirements and get more people to work serving the people of Alberta and reducing unemployment. It's a great way to do that, but it was our idea first, just FYI. So the other piece of this omnibus bill that I just wanted to speak to briefly is changes to the All-Season Resorts Act to include private land just to include private land in the assessment process. And this basically makes it so that both public and private land components can be managed by a single regulator. And while that does reduce red tape, this might actually be one of the only parts of the bill that actually belongs in a red tape statutes amendment bill. But it does reduce red tape, but I still have the same questions around accountability and how all-season resort developments will be approved, and how this bill, by including private land, it still gives the minister too much power to approve and/or fast-track proposals without discussion. That was my concern when we debated the All-Season Resorts Act last year. I still feel very concerned about that. The All-Season Resorts Act, it does not require robust consideration of these kinds of developments, and I know from in my riding of Banff-Kananaskis and all up and down the eastern slopes, people are coming to me with many questions about it. I look forward to talking with the minister more about that to make sure that we can address the concerns that people have as these resorts are going to be developed on the landscape. I think that there is generally a need to consider that the Tourism Ministry is not a land manager, and not historically. And so there does need to be some very intentional thought and planning about these resorts. And this bill kind of takes us there. But it's also, I don't really understand why private land needs to be included in the all-season resorts. So I look forward to the minister explaining that to me at a future date also. And with that, I will cede my time. Thank you.